Hey everyone, this is Cressida Reese from Hair Analysis UK. I'm doing an interview with Emma Goodwin. She's an expert in the GAPS diet. She also works for Wild Heart Radio. It's a local radio station in East Sussex. And she's done lots of amazing interviews. And I was very privileged to be asked to be interviewed by her. It's all about hair analysis and how I got involved. And we go over two of her hair tests and what she's been taking, how she's improved, and hopefully you'll find it really informative. And if you need to find anything else out about hair analysis, you're interested in maybe getting a test, then please visit my website, which will be in the link below. Hope you enjoy it.
Well, hello, ladles and jelly spoons, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another gutsy GAPS chat with your GAPS coach, Emma, here from Timeless Cookery, here on Wild Heart Radio. So lovely to see you. I hope you're all having a lovely Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or any of the other days of the week, because you might be listening on the other side of the world via the archive, which is on the presenters page for Wild Heart Radio, where you can hear miraculous stories of recovery from all sorts of people from all walks of life, and they've recovered from all sorts of debilitating, life-threatening, chronic ailments and are doing much, much better with the GAPS nutritional protocol. Gut and Psychology Syndrome. Get the book by Dr. Natasha. It's yellow. It's my yellow Bible. Anyway, darling hearts, I want to introduce you to a really interesting thing today. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but you know, when people are not well with chronic ailments, they usually have toxicity at the same time as having deficiencies. So GAPS is really good at tackling the deficiencies with nutrient dense foods and giving you all those building blocks, the good fats, the proteins, amino acids, so that you can rebuild your broken bits, so that your body can detoxify itself. But what about if you're just so toxic that your body can't cope and you're really, you've got terrible issues that seem insurmountable, and even if you have been eating the good food with the good building blocks, you're still feeling rubbish? What do you do? So my guest today, Cressida Reese, is a specialist in working out what the toxicities are in your body. And to do that, she uses hair mineral analysis. So her handle is Hair Mineral Analysis UK. That's the website. And on Instagram, you can find her at Hair Analysis Worldwide. Is that right, Cressida? Did I get that right?
Yes, totally perfect. Thank you.
How are you today? How lovely to see you.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Doing well. What about you?
Yeah, I'm really well. We met, didn't we, when we were walking our dogs on the green?
That's right. Yeah.
She looks interesting, I thought. She looks like a bay. She's tall and willowy with perfect skin and looks really groovy. Wonder what's going on with her. Because, when you're walking around these days, we see so many people who are so decrepit. I'm really sorry, but there's so many people walking around, with walking sticks and Zimmer frames and, in their motility scooters. And the kids, even the kids look so skinny and with bags around their eyes, and everyone's poisoned by the weaponized food system. And anyway, your specialism is identifying toxicity in people, and you're a shining example of what your work can do, because you're really cleansed, it would seem, from your work. So can we just talk about this thing, hair mineral analysis? What is it? Where did it come from? When did you first come across it? And I've got so many questions for you. Let's just start with, what is it?
Well, basically, it's a tissue test. So it's a biopsy, and it's a very, very simple test to take. You just take a sample of hair and send it off in an envelope. So it's non-invasive, and it goes to the lab in America. So this is the original Dr. Eck analytical research labs in Arizona. He was the one that pioneered the whole mineral balancing using hair analysis. And it, there it's analyzed, and we can see 20 minerals and toxic metals. So in total 20. And over many years, he started this in the 1970s. And he worked on and was inspired by pioneers in nutrition before him. So people like Carl Pfeiffer and Melvin Page, a few other people, George Watson, Henry Schroeder. So all these people were involved in analyzing nutrition, minerals, metals, how they affect the body, how they affect the nervous system, stress patterns, and how stress can affect and cause disease. So he built on all that, and he worked out how the hair analysis and the ratios between the different minerals, the levels of the minerals, how you can interpret them to show why you might be getting symptoms. It can be used as a predictive tool as well to help prevent disease in the future. For example, it can show inflammation. And, obviously we know inflammation is a cause or at the basis of many diseases these days. So you want to nip all that in the bud, and that is what hair analysis will do. But not only that, you can also see the toxic metal status. But it's a little bit more complicated. You don't just look at the test and say, oh, I'm low in mercury, I don't have any mercury. It really doesn't work like that. You've got to know what levels of mercury we should be seeing on the hair test. Because we're all exposed, for example, to mercury and many other metals. So we know that you should be detoxing them. They should be being dumped off in the hair to a degree. So if you're not showing a high enough level, we know you're storing it. So, there is a very specific way of interpreting the hair test based on what Dr. Paul Eck discovered. And then it was expanded on, the whole process was expanded on by Dr. Wilson, who used to work for him for a long time. And then Dr. Wilson trained quite a few practitioners, and I'm one of them. And so we're now giving this incredible analysis and process to people so that they can really improve their health and detox, which is something that you do, but we've got a tool now that we can assess what is going on. Sorry.
Okay, great. You've got a tool. So I'm so fascinated. So we'll talk more about the tools for interpreting and the tools for working out exactly what's going on when we're detoxing from these heavy metals. I mean, I don't know anyone who hasn't got a mercury amalgam filling in their mouth these days. Well, lately it's becoming much more obvious to people that we don't want an amalgam that has some kind of heavy metal like mercury in it in our mouths. It's just a ridiculous thing to suggest. I don't know how the dental industry has got away with it for so long, frankly.
I know.
But there are people. There's geoengineering going on, which means they've been spraying the skies with nanoparticulates of aluminium. So everyone's got aluminium in them. I don't care what you might think about it. It's a patented technology. It's there. So let's all be just aware of it, and then work on excretion and work on getting it out. And we can talk about ways to get out aluminium in a bit later on in the show. So, Cressida, how long have you been practicing?
I've been doing this 8 years.
Wow.
And I got into it. I was already in nutrition. I'd written a couple of smoothie books, which, I thought was the key to health at the time. And then I quickly became a practitioner because I personally had complete burnout and was quite ill, and there didn't seem to be any solution. My blood tests look absolutely fine, and yet I couldn't walk. And
Wow.
it was a little bit worrying. So I
Were you
obviously,
bedridden?
yeah, I was, and crawling around the house. Yeah, it was quite an awful experience. Um, and there were things that I can see that led up to that. A lot of stress, taking the wrong supplements, um, uh, yeah, overdoing things, pushing myself too hard, all that. And everything just crashed and came to a full stop. And so I had to find a way to dig myself out of this hole. Nobody else was going to do it for me, so I had to do quite a bit of research. And eventually I didn't stumble on hair analysis straight away. I was like obviously looking for the magic pill that was going to resurrect me, but that never happened. But I did make some improvements on some supplements. But the energy in my body was just like a battery. It would last for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes if I was lucky, and then it would crash. Um, so
Oh, did you get a
yeah,
diagnosis from anyone on that?
no.
No, but would we call that chronic fatigue or ME or what would you call it?
Um, well, it was in my way of analyzing it was adrenal and thyroid burnout. So
Okay.
it's not something that you would be able to see necessarily on a blood test. So um, so yeah, basically from that point, I was trying lots of different things, and I came across hair analysis, and I thought, well, might as well give it a try. I've tried everything else. I've done as many tests as I could do, and it actually showed me what was wrong, and that was the first time that I could see something could be fixed, that something was wrong. And it wasn't, and it was perfect for me because it was holistic. I wasn't taking drugs, it wasn't you know taking some fancy herb. It was working on mineral levels, and the ratios, and supporting my glands, but in a very scientific, precise way, not just a random supplementation.
So, what did your mineral analysis set look like? What did your because when you showed me because I did a hair mineral analysis with Cressida because I wanted to know how it might help me, and I wanted then to also offer um, this service to the people in Timeless Cookery Club, my online cookery school, as a tool for just taking it to the next level. If you've been already on a good diet, but you're plateaued out and you're stuck somewhere and you can't move on any further, why don't we have a look at hair mineral analysis and see if it happens to be lead or mercury or aluminium or whatever that's poisoning you, because we have slightly different protocols for detoxing those specific things. So it's a good idea to be able to identify them, isn't it? And also we look at the ratio between calcium and magnesium and potassium and sodium, which are the four macro minerals, aren't they? We've got loads of little micro minerals floating around: the zinc, the selenium, the copper, the molybdenum, all of the little micro minerals. But there are these four big macro minerals that you just can't do without. And the trouble is, with our high carb diet in the West, carbohydrates take a heck of a lot of magnesium specifically to metabolize. So if you're eating a really high carbohydrate diet, you're bound to be magnesium deficient. And if your magnesium's off, then your calcium will be off. And if those two are off, everything else is going to be off. So then how do you find your balance after that? It's really difficult. So tell us, what did your levels look like of your macro minerals, your micro minerals, and what did your levels of toxic metals look like when yours came back for the first time?
Well, the first time, my calcium was 580 and normal is 40.
Oh my
So
God, that's so high, off the
terrible,
scale.
completely off the scale. And that's due to a thyroid issue. So when your calcium is that high, it represents actually quite a few things, but it's the body slowing down. It shows how slow the body has got. And, obviously that was totally correct for my situation. So the calcium will go up and the potassium will go down.
Could you say that that would be like almost like calcification, like kind of like turning to stone
It is.
almost?
It's exactly like that. And Dr. Eck actually used to write about that. So I was basically turning to stone and I was getting very stiff and I could hardly move. And but it also creates unawareness and numbness, brain fog, poor memory. It creates all these things. So you really do feel like you're falling into this sort of black hole. And actually, you're not deficient in calcium. I'm sorry, you are deficient in calcium. You've got excess calcium and a deficiency at the same time. So you've got the calcium coming out of the bone and into the tissue, calcifying you. And actually, the higher it gets, the more chronic disease that you can end up with. So it was very important for me to quickly get that down. And in fact, I did actually get that down, but it wasn't from not taking calcium. I still took calcium and magnesium because the bone, my body actually needed it because the calcium was just going off in the wrong direction. So you can, obviously there are cofactors that you need to take in order for the calcium to get back into the bone and go to the right places and do all the functions that it's supposed to do. But yeah, I mean, that was really worrying when I first saw that because, it's an indicator of chronic disease as well.
Yeah, so you were on the road to being proper, nearly on death's doorstep. I mean, you were already incapacitated, couldn't get out of bed, crawling around the house, and then you got that back, and it's like calcium. You're basically turning to stone, love.
Yeah.
You better better sort yourself out. But so, I think we should point out to people that the protocols that you work with are mostly based on taking supplements, although some of the recommendations that come back when you go for a hair mineral analysis are relating to food. Now, from my perspective, food is the medicine, and we need to do the food first. Like that needs to be forefront. The foundation of everyone's healing journey needs to be: are you eating the right food?
Exactly. Yes. I mean, sometimes we just start people on the diet because their diet is very deficient. So, and also they're sensitive to supplements, some people, and
Yeah, some people can't even take even one
yeah,
time. I've had somebody take a B vitamin, a complex, and just end up on the floor.
yeah,
It's quite
yeah,
scary. Some people are so sensitive, you have to do pixie dust, tiny little pinches of stuff. So
exactly.
when you say we start them on the diet, what does that mean?
Well, the diet is largely based on the oxidation rate that we see on the hair test. So that's their metabolic rate, which means, and that is based on the macro minerals that you were talking about. So the calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. These represent and show us the metabolic rate of someone. So they can be fast, slow, or mixed, and they can be mixed slow and mixed fast as well. And so a person who is in fast oxidation utilizes fat for fuel
I think
much
that's
better.
me. I'm one
Yes,
of those. Yeah.
yes. So they can utilize fat for fuel, but and they need less carbs because they need the fat to sort of it will help slow them down, balance them out a bit more. But a slow oxidizer can't do that. They're struggling basically to create energy and they need that glucose. So what was the original question? I've gone
I
off
think
on.
I asked you, let's go right back to the original question I asked you was like, what did your levels look like of your macro minerals
That's
and
right.
your micro minerals and your heavy metals? What did your chart actually look like? That's what we were talking about.
Yes, and then that's it. I do remember now. You were talking about the diet. What diet everybody
That's
should
right.
be
Sorry.
doing.
Yes, yes. I've
Sorry.
got I've
Yes.
got ahead of myself and behind myself and like all round and in a twist. Doesn't matter. We don't care. Yeah.
No.
When I did say to you, yeah, what when you say diet, what do you mean? And it's different for different people. That's why it's a
It's
complicated question.
It is, and we can go back to my mineral levels, but in terms of diet, it is very individual, because some people are hugely sensitive, as you know, to various vegetables, plants. Some people can't digest meat. So we have to work individually with each person. But basically, people should be having protein, some cooked veggies. They must be cooked for the extra nutrients, and to break down the fibers so that the nutrients get released, and obviously to get rid of plant toxins, which all about. So it really just depends on what we see on the hair test, but we emphasize a nutrient dense diet, and we go from there, and we deal with people's sensitivities as they come up, and what they start with. But yes, low carb is important. It has to be like some complex carb for some people that are slow oxidizers, less carb for the fast oxidizers, and then somewhere in between for the mixed ones. So we just sort of look at different levels for that as well. But going back to my levels, so the main thing with I was a very extreme slow oxidizer. So fat for me, I just couldn't use it at all. But at the same time, my calcium to magnesium ratio was extremely high, and that shows there is a carb intolerance. So I need carbs just to keep going, but I can't tolerate them. And then I had an extremely low potassium, which also indicates hyperglycemia. So I had
So
a
then
lot.
you're heading for diabetes, but you can't,
Yes.
and you need sugar, but you can't have it. And oh my
Mm.
God, that must have been harsh. What did you
It was
do?
well, it's very, very slowly, step by step. You have to come out of this, with the help of some supplements. You support the adrenals. The adrenals are key in helping you utilize sugar. And obviously I've got to support the thyroid as well. So it was bit by bit, getting the right nutrients, increasing the nutrient density of my diet. And I came out of it, but it is, it's not a quick fix, because there are toxicities
It's
there.
never a quick fix. What people don't understand
Yeah.
is that you've had a lifetime of toxicity. Like you
Mm.
think, well, I'm okay. I just got ill a couple of years ago. Why can't I just fix it in a couple of years? But no, you've been eating Frosties and having pasteurized milk for since you were, 3 years
Yeah.
old or whatever. How many decades have you been having these processed foods?
Mm.
And how many decades have you not been having coffee enemas, for instance? My God. So when you're so can you tolerate fats now then?
Yes, I can.
Phew.
And in actual fact, people with a low potassium, that is a very specific pattern called sympathetic dominance. And it means a person has been pushing too hard, and worrying too much over too long a period, and not replenishing their mineral levels. And so it's a mental attitude as well. So it's not something you can fix straight away. It's about relaxing the body.
Yeah. So you said sympathetic dominance. So are we talking here about our nervous system being at one of two extremes, like parasympathetic or sympathetic? So parasympathetic, I call rest and digest. Sympathetic, I call fight or flight. So you're
Yeah.
talking about it being that you're in a state of getting ready to punch someone's lights out or run away, dominates your life. That feeling dominates your life. Is that what you mean?
Yes. So I've been running on my sympathetic nervous system for too long. So that's been dominant for too long, and not spending enough time in the parasympathetic state, which is relaxing, where you heal, where things get repaired in the body.
And so you burn out, you burn through your minerals, and then you're just wasting everything out through your excretory organs. So
And
I had
that's
no potassium hardly
right.
left.
And that's where you say it's a mental state as well, because you need to be aware of this fact that you're just like running on all cylinders. You can't keep going like that forever. You need to just chill out, lie down, shut up, and lie down.
Correct. Yeah.
Otherwise, your body just make you do it. What do they say? They say something like, "Give time to your um, wellness. Otherwise, you'll be forced to give time to your illness."
Yeah, that's so true. And so in that particular situation, people with very low potassiums, having that bit of extra fat actually helps slow them down.
Right, because
So
lamb fat is really high in potassium. Lamb fat is really, really high in potassium. It's so good for your brain. And how did you get your potassium back?
well, a lot of potassium-rich foods, obviously, take some of the supplements do have potassium in them. So over time, you start to retain the potassium. Now, it's not just taking potassium; it's because it's not a replacement therapy situation with the hair analysis. You've actually got to know what helps you retain certain minerals, and zinc is really important, and vitamin A is important for retaining your potassium. So, so I have been on large amounts of zinc, in fact, to help retain that potassium. And it helps calm the whole nervous system, and balance you out. So zinc is also great for detox as well. It detoxes copper and it detoxes cadmium. Both of those antagonize zinc in the mineral system. So it's quite it sounds complex, but the protocol has all been worked out. And so it's nice and easy for us all to follow.
I have to say that you gave me some supplements, and I spent I did it very gently. I didn't go in hardcore. I just gently took some supplements. I mean, I'm really aware that on GAPS we say don't take supplements, because if you've got leaky gut, you just spend a whole heap of money on a load of supplements. They go in one end and out the other and don't do anything because you can't assimilate, because you can't actually absorb them, and so it's not working. You've got to fix the leaky gut first.
Yeah.
So I was pretty sure that I didn't have leaky gut by that time, because I've been on GAPS for years, but I had reached a kind of plateau, and I was thinking, I'm something missing, and there's got to be something better than this. I feel life feels pretty good, but I reckon there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
So, and also I wanted to just see for myself what your service was like, and what it entailed, and I was actually absolutely thrilled to find that after about 6 weeks, maybe a little longer, on some of these supplements you gave me, I just woke up one morning and I kind of went, hey, I feel really chilled. And you said to me, I want to switch off your adrenals because you've been running on too high, too fast for far too long. I think, when you look at my history, I had the small holding, then we had all that business with the High Court. I lost my home. We had to dismantle our own house. My marriage broke down. I lost my business. It was all pretty intense. So
Yeah.
no wonder, I think probably 10 years I've been running on nearly empty. So, and it was only GAPS, I think, that was keeping me functioning. So it's been fascinating to work with you and see. I think I had what we call 4 lows on my chart. So my macro minerals, my calcium, my magnesium, my sodium, my potassium were all way below the actual level that they should have been, despite the fact I was making my own homemade eggshell mineral mix and having my fats and being low carb, and having my mineral baths, and my lemon juice and salt under my tongue and all the good things, but still all my macro minerals were like rock bottom. What the actual? So tell us about that, and tell us about the rest of your chart as well, because I haven't finished that question yet.
Okay. So yeah, so we can pull up your charts actually, because you've done 2 now, so we can see the change. But yes, on my first chart, all my other mineral levels were very low, and my toxic metal levels were very low. So I was not detoxing. The body had no energy to detox. So that was, a normal observation on my chart. So my copper was very low, but I had lots of hidden copper indicators. So I was storing copper and also iron, because, when the adrenals and the thyroid weaken, then this is what can happen. And when you go through a lot of stress, zinc will get depleted, and then copper will start to accumulate. And this can also have an effect on your thyroid. It can suppress your thyroid and your adrenals. So you've got kind of this vicious loop going on. And when you store copper and iron and you're not metabolizing it, that causes inflammation and can cause chronic disease as well. So mobilizing all that takes some time. And so over the last 8 years, my adrenals and thyroid have been getting stronger, and I've been detoxing, in particular, mercury and copper. So my copper has shot right up off the chart as I've detoxed it. A few symptoms of detox, but nothing the body can't cope with, because the body will never push you into a situation and detox something that you can't physically cope with. So detox reactions, as you know, can look like a rash or feeling more emotional, maybe some headaches, bit of nausea, possibly. But it's all good, because you know that you're actually detoxing. You can monitor this on the hair test. And it's just a process. It's called the nutritional balancing journey, and it's definitely something that you know is working. You can see it working. And what gives you another clue to that you're actually detoxing is that you start to feel more energy. So just before a detox, the body will release something. Your body will feel, oh my gosh, I actually feel pretty good and I've got good energy. That's when the body goes, okay, now I've got the energy. I'm going to get rid of something. I'm going to release something from the liver, or release something from the brain, or from some other organ or tissue. And then you will start to feel a bit, okay, I've gone backwards, but it's not. You're just detoxing. So it's all good, and you can see the process and the progress that you're making.
Shall we have a look at my chart then?
Yes, let's look at yours. Okay, so
I have to say, I can't remember feeling, or did I? I think I might have texted you and said, I don't feel too good. And you just went, yeah, keep going, you'll be all right. You'd think by now that I would know the symptoms of die-off or herxing or healing crisis, or the years that I've been doing gaps. But because it was supplements, it was a bit different. But I was very happy to see that the supplements you offered were not many of them had methylcellulose capsules. A lot of them are pressed tablets, which is good.
Yes.
There aren't so many fillers in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Before we get into this chart, can you just tell me whether you use binders or not? Because I've been taught that when we start to stir up the muddy waters in our body and to move and chelate those heavy metals, that it's a really good idea to take some kind of binder, like a clay or charcoal or something internally, to mop up those pathogenic substances and make sure they're excreted from the body correctly, so that they don't just reabsorb somewhere more dangerous. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, that's why we do nutritional balancing, is because we don't really use binders, no, because the body will excrete it through the normal ways that the body excretes, through bile, through the kidneys, through sweat, and this is the way that we want the body to release it, in stages, because we're all toxic, but in layers. So so copper might be the first layer that needs to be detoxed, like one layer of copper, and then underneath could be arsenic, and under that could be lead. So we allow the body to detox naturally, but we open up the detox pathways. So we do suggest, a bit of time in the sauna, exercise, some lymph, so a lymph reset. So, tapping various parts of the body.
Yeah.
Coffee
Coffee enemas, love my coffee enemas. I've just really got into lymph drainage like every morning. Every morning I wake up, I sit up in bed, and I put some kind of cream on my hands, and then I rub my face and I rub my neck and I rub little circles underneath my ears and I rub down my neck. I rub my collarbones, under my armpits, in the crook of my arm, in my groin area,
Yes.
at the back of my knees. Yeah, it just takes literally 3 minutes or something. Just slap yourself about a bit.
Exactly. And walking is a good exercise. You're moving your system, you're getting your circulation going, and this all helps. But in terms of supplements, we do have a supplement called Endo Veggies, which has charcoal in it, so that can help.
That's a binder, right?
And then also kelp, which is in on everybody's program. Well, most people's, actually, I wouldn't say everybody's, but most people's program has kelp, which is a seaweed, and that contains alginates that which bind to toxic metals. The kelp provides iodine and other minerals as well, but it can actually bind to toxic metals. Having a few select veggies as well can also bind to toxic metals. So the whole program is designed to help you detox and shift the metals out of the body while remineralizing you.
Cool. So let's have a look at this chart then.
So this is your first chart. And we can see here that your macro minerals, this is calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. They're all below this ideal line here.
In fact, all my micro and my macro minerals are below, except for phosphorus, which I find fascinating.
Yes.
Well, that's the light bringer, isn't it? Phosphorus.
Yes. And the phosphorus can actually look higher than it actually is on the first test, just because you've got a lot of hidden toxic metals. So down here, you've actually got a lot of poor eliminators. So they're not that high. They're not.
So you were just looking there for the people on the radio who can't actually see what we're looking at.
Yes,
you're looking at the levels of lead, mercury, copper, all those toxic minerals.
Iron, copper is very low. So toxic metals and hidden toxic minerals can actually push that up and make it look better than it is in reality on the first test. So we often see this drop on a retest.
You see the phosphorus drop on a retest.
Okay. Yeah, but this is a 4 lows pattern, and so we want to get Dr. Eck found that if you try and push these sodium and potassium levels up when someone is in 4 lows, the calcium and magnesium just get lower. So it doesn't matter how much calcium and magnesium you give them. If you're pushing this when the body's not ready, the sodium and potassium are representing your adrenals, basically. So and thyroid. So if you're stimulating these will just get even lower. So what we did with you, Emma, is we just gave you lots of calcium and magnesium to help raise this up, and a few supplements that would help you relax, like taurine, and help just rebuild, repair tissue in the body. But also this sodium to potassium ratio is very important. And we gave you a supplement that included zinc and a little bit of copper, just to help raise this level above potassium. So you want
the sodium level to be above the potassium level slightly, do you?
Yes. So this is,
gosh, it's so specific, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
If we go down here, this is the NAK ratio here. So that's the sodium to potassium ratio. It represents adrenal. It represents also nutrients being able to get into the cell, and waste being able to get out. So you were slightly low, so we wanted to raise that up again.
Okay. So let's have a look on the next chart. What did we manage to do the thing we wanted to do?
Almost.
What were the levels there?
Look, so you've got you're almost at 2.5, which is the ideal level, or just
Okay.
above. Yes,
So,
so
you know, you did it. You did it
we're
in
getting there.
a matter
Yeah.
of months.
Yes, which is lovely. But look at these, you know, without pushing your adrenals and giving you lots of vitamin B vitamins and vitamin C and loads of glandulars, your adrenals came back online, and look, your levels came right up. So this is fantastic. You're
So
actually
my retest was it was April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. It was 9 months later, but that's because of so many factors. I could have actually done that retest probably about 4 or 5 months later, you know, easily. And I
yeah.
felt the same. I don't think I've changed much.
Mm.
And you're there in my second retest, then my magnesium is up. The difference between the calcium and magnesium, they're both still low under the threshold, but the magnesium is up quite a lot. And
Yeah,
the
exactly.
sodium and the potassium are way above the normal. They're
Yeah.
quite far above it. Do we want to try and bring them down now?
So yeah, well, we still need to, yes, you're a fast oxidizer, and maybe you're a natural fast oxidizer. We don't really know yet, but coming out of four lows, normally what we see is someone coming out of four lows as a slow oxidizer. So these go up, and these sodium and potassium remain low. So we want to see calcium and magnesium go above this line.
Oh, I don't want to be a slow oxidizer because that means I won't be able to eat fat anymore, doesn't it?
No, you'll be able to eat fat and carbs and, you know, everything
So
that you
that would
want.
be good to be able
Yeah,
to just eat anything I like. Because even
yeah,
now, after 15 years on GAPS, I can eat. I ate some sourdough yesterday. I had two very thin slices. I toasted them. I smothered them with butter, and I had some fish roe. Because it's difficult to eat fish roe just on its own. So a nice bit of crunchy sourdough smothered with butter, and it went down a treat. And I didn't get any bloating. My sleeping didn't suffer. So I can eat carbs these
yeah.
days, but I have to say, I'm not that bothered
No,
about eating carbs too.
no. Well, you don't want to overdo it on carbs, because then you start well, the chromium goes down for a start, and then you have problems with sugar balance if you overdo carbs. So you need to keep that in check. But I mean, this is a great retest. Most people, sort of over 90% of people are actually slow oxidizers. So a natural slow oxidizer. Sorry, I'll start that again. Most people are slow oxidizers. Most adults are slow oxidizers. Most people that are adult that are in fast oxidation, it's an actual stress pattern. So it's an alarm reaction, and it's usually imposed over a slow oxidation pattern that we can see on the hair test. So you're born usually as a fast oxidizer. So babies and children are fast oxidizers, and that's why they can take fat and utilize that for growing and for energy and so on when they're very young. And you usually move over to slow oxidization when you're about 12, 13, something like that. So there are very few true fast oxidizers. But what we're looking for ideally is either a mild fast oxidation rate, or a mild slow oxidation rate, and everything else pretty much balanced, and you've done some detox and so on. And then we know that you're probably moving in and out of slow and fast oxidation at will, just depending on stress and what you're doing, but you can relax quite easily. And so that's what we want, someone with a flexible oxidation rate.
Do you think we can, if how the cell makes energy? So it either uses mitochondrial ATP, uses anything as a fuel with oxygen an oxidative or aerobic way of fueling the cell, or like couch potatoes, it's a cytoplasm way of fueling the cell, where for every 2 ATP, which is like a photon of light basically, you can only create 4. But if you do it aerobically, you take 2 ATP and you can create 26 ATP. It's a really great exchange. It's like, but that's what I would call fast oxidation. It's people who can use fat as a fuel, can then do aerobic respiration within the cell, which means they can just use 2 energy units and create 26 energy units. But if you're stuck in that couch potato, I can't move, I'm crawling across the floor thing, whatever fuel you're taking in, it's anaerobically it's not respiration, it's anaerobically created the energy. And for every 2 ATP, you only get 4 ATP. It's a pathetic like ratio of creating energy, absolutely pathetic. Do you not think that we can all get to that lovely, nice place where semi-fast oxidation, you can relax easily, you sleep well, but you can use fat as fuel? Do you not think we can all get there at some point?
Yes, that should be a goal. But a lot of people are satisfied with a mild slow oxidation, just not taking things pretty easy. But you need your copper and your iron working really well, metabolizing really well to create ATP as well. And I think with slow oxidizers, it's usually rock bottom. They've either got too much stored and they're not utilizing it, or they can be genuinely deficient as well. So it is something we can see, in fact, how your nervous system is coping on the hair test. We can see with the calcium to phosphorus level. Here it should be 2.5. So we use these 2 minerals to assess your how well you're coping with stress, and how exhausted your nervous system is. So here,
yeah,
your previous ratio was 0.81. So ideal is 2.5. And that's gone up, which is great, to 1. So we're getting closer to the ideal. But being low, when it's low like that, we know that you are using your nervous system. You're running around too much. You're stressed out too much.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting? Because I'm not really doing anything differently, as in I've still got the same levels of energy. I'm still doing the same kind of things as I was doing 9 months ago, but I just feel easier. It just
Yeah,
feels easier. That's so simple. I sleep
exactly.
better and everything feels easier. Now, there's so many people who could benefit from just
Yeah,
sleeping better and feeling easier. Good Lord. Even if you don't think
exactly.
you've got anything much wrong with you.
That's right. And you can see there your calcium and magnesium levels have come up. So you do have a better buffer to stress. So we can see you are able to cope with stress a lot better.
Mm.
And this is the goal. This is what we want. We just want you feeling better, being able to cope with stress, having the energy to do everything you want in life. And it does require balancing these mineral levels and detoxing those metals.
Beautiful. So we just want everyone's life to be easier, don't we, Cressida? Should we get rid of these?
Exactly.
Should we get rid of these charts for a minute and let's just talk a little bit
Yeah.
more about so for instance, if somebody does show that they well from your understanding and your reading and your analysis, because you're the expert of their chart, and it shows that they are mercury toxic, for instance, how do you specifically work on chelating heavy metals like mercury?
Well, we don't actually chase after one particular metal, because if you do that, then you do run the risk of getting rid of some of the mercury, but then you're not sure whether some of it has ended up in another tissue. And you also don't know how many layers of mercury you've got in the body, because the metals start to take the place of minerals, because they're the atomic structure is very similar. So they will use transporters that minerals use to get into the cell. They will use the same transporters
That's
and
sneaky, just sneaking in.
sneak in, yeah, without you noticing, and then they cause disruption to the functioning of the body. And they cause inflammation and all sorts of problems. And then they keep out the good minerals. So then you become deficient in actually what you need. So we don't. So what we do, the whole nature of it, mineral balancing, nutritional balancing, is we provide the building blocks, which are the minerals, so that you've got the right nutrients to naturally allow the toxic metals to lift up and detox themselves. So
right.
it's a much safer, it's a slower process, but it's much safer. You get less detox reactions, and it's what the body is designed to do. The body is designed to detox itself. And if you just provide it with the correct nutrients, the correct minerals, then you will start to release the metals. And you've got to remember that these metals are also layered in the body. So, they've taken the place of minerals for so long, you can't just suddenly rip them out. You would crash.
Yeah.
So it has to be done over time, which is much more pleasant for everybody as well.
Yeah. And, if you have been on a really good food regime, the food is a medicine, you've been really paying attention, you haven't been eating high oxalate foods, you've been eating really good animal fat, you've been sourcing from your, your dairy from raw, and you've been fermenting your own dairy, you've been getting your eggs from pastured eggs and whatever, you've been doing it all right, but you still feel terrible and you still get these results saying high aluminium or whatever. Would you, for instance, my girls were both really high aluminium, and although I haven't got the funds currently to invest in the suggested supplements, what I do have is some clay that I've already got in the cupboard, which is a zeolite clay, which is a binder. And I do also have some cilantro, which is Chinese parsley, which is, what's the English word for it? Cilantro is coriander.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coriander tincture. So that's basically like vodka with dried coriander, right? We make a tincture, leave it for a month, and I've got a little bottle of tincture of coriander. Apparently, that can just be put on your wrists and on your pulse points, say 5 drops a day or something, very gentle. That will have an effect on grabbing hold of the aluminium in your body, apparently. So I hear from Dr. Klinghardt. But you don't want to go mobilizing and collating it unless you've got a safe way of getting it out of the body. So I would say, right, don't do that unless you're taking clay, for instance. And maybe you want to do foot baths, because foot baths are excellent for pulling rubbish out of your body, because you've got really huge pores on your soles of your feet. So we can, at the same time as getting salts in and magnesium and minerals in with a salt foot bath, you could also pull out rubbish. So we could put a few drops of the tincture in a salt foot bath, get mineralized, pull out the rubbish, make sure you take your zeolite clay as a binder, just in case there's any flying around your system. Don't want it to get lodged somewhere else. So would you work with your clients to, if they wanted to do these extra protocols on top of the suggested supplement regime that you come up with?
Yes, I don't see any problem with the foot baths. And the problem with some zeolites and clay is that they can have their own toxicity as well. So some clays are actually high in aluminium. So I would be wary of taking too much of that. Charcoal is fine on a short-term basis. But I would take just one supplement, selenium, because that will help shift. That will replace the aluminium. So if you're lifting out, if you wanted to do a bit of a detox with a zeolite and the chlorella tincture and so on, that's fine on a short-term basis, but make sure that you're also taking, selenium, for example, which will help put the right mineral back where the aluminium was, and it will help also shift it out the body. So and doing the coffee enemas and some sauna, the near infrared heat lamp sauna is particularly good. It's also going to help.
I tell you what, the near infrared, I've got a 4 bulb near infrared. It's my most favorite thing. I've seen me through this winter. I absolutely love it. If anyone's interested, I'm selling them on my website, timelesscookery.com/infrared saunas. So have a look. It's such a joy to have it by your bedside. You get ready for bed, you take all your clothes off, you just lie in front of it for 10 minutes before you get into bed. You never have cold hands and feet ever again. Mind you, I don't get that anymore. That was years ago. I used to have cold hands and feet, which is a sign your thyroid's off, isn't it? Yeah. And get up in the morning, do your little press ups and your little pull ups in front of this infrared sauna, puts you in a really good mood. We really underestimate the power of light therapy. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And if you guys can get outdoors and get the sunshine in your eyes before you do anything else in the day, then you're a winner, frankly, because that's going to set off a cascade of wonderful hormones, which will culminate in melatonin, which will make you go to bed early. And then it can be early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And on that note, I'm going to thank you, Cressida, for joining us today and filling us in on this amazing opportunity to find out what's going on with your minerals and what's going on with your toxins with hair mineral analysis. Thank you, Cressida Reese.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.